Yes, sir.
Obviously, a really good performance by our guys. Saturday, really good job of competing in the elements, really good job of showing the right mental disposition to go out and play really well together. A lot of things that we did well, a lot of areas still to improve. Really good opportunity for us with the bye week coming up to get a head start on Arkansas State, who was a really good team, and for us to be able to get some of the fundamental things that showed up in the last game cleaned up as we move forward. So excited to be bowl eligible. That's the floor in our program. Now we continue to build towards ultimately why we all play the game is to be the best in our conference and our league, take advantage of opportunities to improve, and give these guys an opportunity to go out and create a lot of value for themselves. So that open up for questions.
Coach, you mentioned areas to improve. So far they're in the win streak. Where do you feel like the team can grow and improve?
Yeah, I think fundamentally, tackling is one that's the more consistent we can be. We've gotten better, but there's still some areas where we can get better and eliminate the rallying to the ball, tackle, and the first guy there, get him on the ground. I think there's some things we can do defensively to continue to play the ball in the air in the deep part of the field with poise and confidence, continuing to rotate guys into games so that the depth doesn't become an issue. Offensively, our run game is getting better, but I think the more we can continue to improve that as you go down the stretch, running the ball consistently is going to have to happen in order for you to continue to have success. I thought our wide receivers did a much better job of blocking on the perimeter, with something we've really been harping on. We got to continue to do that. And sometimes when we say improve on things, it may be things we did well that we need to continue to put time and effort into so we continue to do them well. Again, I thought, as always, we did a really good job of taking the ball away on defense, taking care of the ball on offense. So we got to continue to do the things that are giving us a chance to win. And sometimes that's putting more time and effort into them in practice. Sometimes that's getting other guys some of the same drills or fundamental reps that they may not get by position or a spot on the depth chart as the season goes.
Speak a little bit about how your slots are starting to open up your passing game.
Yeah, I think it all works together. We always talk about cohesion, but the running game is starting to become alive. And when the running game becomes alive, you start to activate the safeties and the nickels in the run fits, or at least the run awareness. Once you start activating the middle of the defense coverage into the run fit, now your slots are going to have a lot more opportunities for one-on-ones or a lot more opportunities to play fast. I think they go together. Because the run game is having more success or more consistency, I'd say, now the safeties are in a little bit of a bind. Do I get down in the run fit or do I cover this guy? Especially the guys to the field with the nickel being involved in the run fit, not being able to get hands on the slot, him getting a free run at the safety, his safety kind of having two roles, play past the run. Okay, now I'm in conflict because Braylon does a good job with the RPOs and we do a good job with tempo, which is creating some down the field explosive plays that we got to continue.
When you're rolling like this on a win streak, I was curious to know, bye week coming now, I know guys are resting, but would you rather just play it through, or?
They make the schedule long before I got here. To us, there's always a plan in the way we work things. When we get the schedule at the beginning of the year, we kind of map out things we want to accomplish at certain points. This is a phase where we want to start adding more to our offensive and defensive schemes based on what our players can do. So every 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks, right before, in between the Thursday night game, we were able to add some things offensively to kind of complement what we were doing. We mapped it out again. This is an area we want to be able to add some things. And when I say add things, we're not talking, all of a sudden we come out triple option, but building off of what we've been able to do, creating more conflict for the other team. Defensively, adjusting some of the coverages in the fronts that we're playing, how we're playing certain coverages in fronts. As the season goes on, you use these bye weeks to kind of do a couple different things as far as adjusting scheme, revamping scheme. We'll go back and look at some of the things we're running If they're not efficient, we got to take them out. You know, some things we thought were going to be good, maybe this player is there or not there, playing a certain way. Maybe we're not getting the same type of reaction from the other side of the ball. So for us to take out what's not working good and then build on what we've done well is always kind of a road mark when we get these bye weeks of what we're going to be able to do.
Can you speak to you guys' ability in halftime adjustments just to elevating you guys in the second half? I feel like every single second half you just played better than in the first half.
Yeah, we've kind of come up with a plan that, you know, how we want to address, it changes each week, how we want to address the second half, what we anticipate their answers being, what we anticipate their adjustments being. It's not a science, it's not perfect, you know, hey, they're going to do A because they were doing B, but just giving our players the opportunity to say, hey, here's the next step we got to be ready for. And then also doing a good job of, you know, the iPads have really changed the game a little bit. A lot of the adjustments that are made are already made before we get inside, because every series you can come off and kind of look through it. A lot of times what we do at halftime is just kind of put all of those series together for the guys. Okay, hey, here's, you know, all of the runs they've had in the first half. Here are all the passes they've had. And here's how we're going to adjust. So I credit the coaches. You know, I always challenge them to make sure our second half adjustments make sense. Make sure our second half adjustments are player driven, not necessarily scheme driven. What can our players do? And they've done a really good job of it. We got to keep doing that as the season goes on. You got to play 60 minutes. You know, if you look at our, you know, kind of season so far, the first half is always a little bit, I don't know, I mean, maybe this could go either other way. And I think, again, our process, our fourth quarter training allows us to come out in the second half and really make an impact on the game, which I think is crucial if you're going to be able to sustain success.
Coach, you've got one of the better, if not best, corner duos in the conference. I want to speak to those two guys. I mean, Moten came in known, but Richard's really come on in his own.
Yeah, I think, again, you know, it's when you play opposite a really good player, you force teams to throw at the other guy, which forces the other guy to get opportunities. I think Richard has done a really good job of taking advantage of the opportunities. He's really coachable. He does exactly what you tell him to do. I mean, he doesn't try and get some technique he got off of YouTube and try it. He doesn't try to get outside of his skill set. Does a really good job in his preparation. He's long, he's physical, so he can challenge some of these guys. He knows his deficiencies in certain areas and routes. He's becoming better with his ball skills. You know, he's been able to get his hands on multiple balls. He's turned them over now with a more consistent rate. And I think that's just a byproduct of playing across, you know, on the other side of the field from a really good corner. You know, you got to kind of pick your poison. You know, and then I think, again, it's the cohesion in the back end. Part of playing corner is trusting that the safety is going to do his job when he needs to. Part of playing corner is understanding how the back end works together. When do I have help? When do I not have help? Situational awareness. Richard's one of the smarter guys on the team as far as understanding, you know, hey, here's the situation. Here are their tendencies. It's 3rd and 5. Here are their tendencies. It's 1st and 10. Here are their tendencies. And again, I think Coach Calhoun has done a great job of teaching him the game at his skill set. A lot of times coaches teach the game of, you know, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it from a perfect level. Well, every player is different. You got to coach and teach different players in different ways. So credit to him, credit to Moten for being consistent enough to force them to, you know, kind of have to make some decisions. Credit to Coach Calhoun for continuing to be innovative with how he's teaching each guy separately. And then credit to Richard for being coachable and leaning on Moten for, you know, some peer, you know, situational coaching. Hey, what do you see here? Well, how do you play this? I think he's done a really good job. We've got to continue that in order for us to have success, especially with the teams coming up that we're going to play. We're going to be a little bit more, I won't say pass happy, but of a pass threat than some of the ones we've played in the last couple of weeks for different reasons. You know, one, you know, 2 weeks ago, the quarterback changes how you throw the ball. This weekend, there you got 2 quarterbacks out, so changes how they throw the ball. So as we continue to move forward, we're going to come up with more teams that have some pass consistency that we're going to have to defend a little bit better.
You guys got your takeaways like done almost every week, but you didn't have as many negatives as you have in weeks past. Can I what they did, another roller quarterback, I liked, got the ball out of his hand, but can you kind of speak to the design of that and how that played out?
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job of hanging on to the ball. We got a couple punches at it that it wiggled, but it didn't come out. I thought they did a really good job of limiting how many times they had to throw it, meaning, you know, it was, like you say, the rollouts, it was the quick game passes, they were safe throws. I thought they did a really good job of that. I also thought they did a good job of trying to keep the ball out of the middle of the field. It's a lot of hands in there. You start throwing the ball over the middle, there's a lot of hands, there's a lot of eyes. If you can keep the ball outside the numbers when you're throwing it, obviously typically there's one guy there. I think the two turnovers, interceptions we got, it was over the middle. So I thought they did a really good job of that, of keeping the ball on or outside the numbers in the pass game, which minimizes the amount of hands that you can get in there. So I thought they did a good job. I thought our guys did a good job of making the plays when they got an opportunity. It's really hard for a defensive player to catch a ball. They don't train to do that. They train to tackle guys. It's really hard for an offensive player. That's why you don't see many of them on special teams, because it's really hard for an offensive player to run down, stack, lean, get back in phase, and shimmy close and make a tackle in the open field. They don't train that. So when you're able to do it at a high level, it really goes a long way. No one would be upset if every one of the if every one of the interceptions we've had were actually like pass breakups, because you don't expect those guys to be great with hands. So we train that a lot. Pass breakups don't do anything for us. We need it turned over. And now we're starting to really focus on offense. We need points off those turnovers, because now that's when you really start to flip momentum. You really start to put the other team in a bind when they're turning the ball over and you're getting points. Earlier in the season, a couple times they would turn it over and we would, move the ball down the field, but may not get points. So now we're focusing more on, okay, how can we generate points off these turnovers?
Braylon being named Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week, 4 touchdowns last week. Just what has he meant to the run you guys have been on so far?
Yeah, I mean, I see him every day. This is no disrespect to any other quarterback in the league. The guy's the best quarterback in the league. I mean, and that's not just because of his on-the-field stats. The guy's a leader. The guy's track record, I mean, he's won. I don't know if he's lost a conference game in almost a year. And that's no knock to any other quarterback. There's some good ones. You're going to play one 2 Saturdays from now, a really good one. But the consistency of his performance, the consistency in his execution, the way he carries himself, his leadership, his confidence, not comparing him, but the last quarterback that had this kind of impact on this conference is probably Grayson McCall. As far as week after week, year after year, the production, and I'm not comparing the two, so don't clip my interview and then post it and say I compared those two. It's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is there's every once in a while, there's a generational talent that comes along in a conference that drastically affects the conference at all levels. At our level, again, Grayson was probably the last one that truly impacted this conference for multiple years. There's always been a guy that's come in and played well, but the consistency in performance, the way they've carried themselves, the impact they've not only had on their team, their community, this brand, this conference, the guy's playing phenomenal. Now, if he doesn't play well next Saturday or 2 Saturdays from now, nobody's going to care. But again, the consistency in his preparation, the consistency in his performance, I'm honored to be here to watch it every day. I'm honored to be a part of it. And his humbleness, the way he carries himself, you wouldn't know that he got player of the week or the conference or whatever it may be. He hasn't changed. He is still the same person, big smile, wants to win. If we told him if he's only going to throw it 5 times, he would throw it 5 times and hand it off 35 times. And those kids don't come along a lot. And you don't get the whole package. You might get the talent, but maybe they don't have the preparation skills. You might get the talent, but you don't have the consistency. Maybe you get the talent, but their personality is more reserved and they're not as outgoing or affecting the team. But we've been blessed. We've been blessed to have him. I really hope he's probably going to win this waiver or whatever. Because if he wins, I'm going for something for Braylon. So just keep him here, keep him around us. I love the guy. I love the guy not only because of what he does on the field, but because of who he is every day. And that's really hard for 18 to 22-year-olds to be. It's really hard for them to be the same person every day, right? As you become an adult, you get in a routine, and your leader or your manager, and you know you gotta, present the same way. But every day, I don't know if I've ever seen him have a bad day. He'll probably come in the day frowning, but I can't say enough about not only what he does for this program off the field. Obviously, everyone sees what he does on the field, but his off the field effect is the same, if not greater.
Coach, talk about Brodarius Lewis and that defensive line. How has he kind of grown up from the guy that we have seen a couple years ago?
Yeah, it was interesting because we almost let Brodarius leave. Brodarius got hurt when we first got here, right out of the gate. So we didn't get to see him go through fourth quarter. We didn't get to see him go through any of the install walkthroughs. We didn't get to see him go through spring ball. And about the last 2 practices of spring, he got healthy enough to do some indie and do some one-on-ones. Not full practice, but indie and one-on-ones. And he took one one-on-one rep, and I said, he's good. Let's get him healthy. We'll keep him. But you don't know, because again, I didn't go back and look at film. I wanted everybody to have their own, litmus test or track record, whatever you want to call it. He got hurt so early, not out of his control, nothing he did. He did everything he needed to do to rehab. He got hurt so early, we weren't able to see the explosion, the twitch, the quickness that we see. He did come back, obviously did a phenomenal job this fall, this summer in camp. The one thing that really impresses me about Brodarius is when we started getting our leadership council together, basically the captain. We don't have captains, but each position has a guy that represents them, and they're the influence group, right? They kind of decide on the uniform. They decide if we're, gonna wear shells or, spiders when we win, those type of things. And everybody on the team, everybody, offense, defense, from the guys that were here and the new guys that got to spend time with him this summer, Brodarius for the D-line, Brodarius for the D-line, Brodarius for the D-line. And he's just got a personality that gravitates to everybody. Very similar to Braylon in different lanes, but very similar. What he's been able to do this year has been great, man. He's got unbelievable twitch. He's got unbelievable quickness. He's a lot more powerful than you may think. Obviously, his stature's lower, so he's got really good leverage. We're able to do things with him in the game from a D-line technique fundamental perspective that you can't do with everybody. He has become a student of the game. Not saying he wasn't, but he's starting to break down formation tendencies and, okay, this formation, they got to be going this way. The guard's got to try and block me this way. I think Coach Mathis and him have really got a good relationship as far as giving him some freedom on some things that he can do. There's one thing to say, hey, everybody's got to use this technique, but when you get a veteran player, you can give him some tools. You can give him some freedom. So he's done a really good job. Couldn't be more proud to have him. He's another guy, like coming in the locker room after that last win. There's nobody in that locker room that was on the team last year that's ever been to a bowl game. So that experience alone, just, and I told him we got a bye week, but we took 4 minutes in the team meeting and just reflected on where we've come from. Not just from one year, last year to this year, but we went all the way back 5 years old. Some of you guys, this is over in 5 weeks. And you've been playing this game since you were 5. Majority of your life, you've been connected to the game of football. And then possibly in 5 or 6 weeks, this thing's over. Hopefully you all get to go play in the NFL. Hopefully you all get an opportunity, but we don't know. So let's maximize this next 5 or 6 weeks. Let's make sure that we don't just get so excited about making a bowl game that we don't maximize the next 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, whatever's left. Because for some of you, when we have all our seniors sitting front row, this is it. You've been playing since you were 5, and it was, oh, well, next year, or I'll go to high school, or I'll go to varsity, or I'm going to go to college. But this is it. And he was one of the guys that really embraced that. Let's do everything we can this week, even though it's a bye week, to make sure we fully maximize these next 6 or whatever. I mean, we almost got 2 months and it's over. Actually, it'll be a month once you get to this weekend. It's over. Like, this family is done. Like, regardless of what happens, win every game, get crowned kings of the world, it's done. Like, it's done. This family in that team room will never be back together again. Yeah, the Southern Miss team will be back, some guys will be back, but this family, done. So we talked about it. Let's maximize this opportunity. Let's not sit here and say, well, we've made a bowl game, we're good, or we're in a really good spot. Let's just enjoy it. That's not the way it works. And Rodarius was one of the guys who I really thought about. Rodarius, Harper, Chris Jones, Tolles, so many guys. Sledge, David Griffin. There's so many guys that were on this team that have never experienced this. So for us to be able to continue to create these memories and opportunities for those guys is truly special.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy the time off. We'll be working, so if you guys ever want to just come and do an interview while we're working, you're more than welcome. I know you guys will love that. So, thanks.
Well, Chris, just to start with you guys on defense, it really feels like you guys are finding, peak out there. What do you think has kind of worked for you guys over the last couple of weeks that really helped grow your confidence?
Each week we're starting to grow closer together, and I feel like that's what's helping us, putting in extra work off the field, in that film room, just actually understanding our jobs and putting in extra film. I feel like that's what's been helping us the last few weeks for sure.
Chris, after last season for you as well, and coming to university, obviously there's still plenty of season left, but to reach bowl eligibility here at this program, a place that you stayed, to play another year at, what did it mean to you?
It meant a lot for me, but most importantly, it meant a lot for USM athletics and the program because, it felt like last year was kind of going downhill, but, now we're going upward, and I feel like this is just the start. This is just the beginning for the reign we're finna go on with Coach Huff. I feel like it's going to be big for the program and USM history for sure.
Coach Huff was talking about that y'all kind of reflected in y'all's team meeting about just how far this program has come. Can you just walk us through that reflection and just kind of what you saw from being here last year?
Yeah, he talks about it a lot and on how things we do kind of affects the guys who were here last year. And he had asked certain things like, he had asked me or Rodarius, he'd be like, was it like this last year? Was it like this last year? And, you could just see the big difference, the things that's changed, like with our teammates and just the culture of the program. People actually want to come here and watch the games now. You can see that, the culture is just different.
Chris, have an extra week to work on things. After y'all broke the film down from this game, and you sit with Coach Seymour, is there thoughts where what's the next step for this defense? The next step for you guys.
Right.
Just improvement.
It's easy to get comfortable and things like that, but we try to nitpick everything, like every little thing we need to work on. It can be footwork, it can be tackling, it can be just being in the right gap or being where you're supposed to be. So we try to nitpick those little things because at the end of the day, the little things matter and the details is going to get you better each and every time, even if it feel like, it really doesn't matter. Those things will add up, and at a certain point of the season, you're going to need that. So that's what we're trying to work on this week and just not getting complacent, not getting comfortable.
Creating turnovers. You even got one yourself as well. How infectious can it be? Because it's been week to week for you guys.
Right. Coach Huff talks about it all the time. Whoever win the turnover battle gonna win the game, and we've been doing that the whole year. And it just shows with how many games we won. We're 6-2, and every game we won a turnover battle, we won the game. So, we just got to continue to keep doing that.
You guys are up to, I believe, nearly 20 turnovers as a team. You ever been on a defense that just creates some, like this one does?
I have in high school, my senior year. We created a lot of turnovers. I think we led the nation. Yeah, we led the nation in interceptions my senior year. So I ain't gonna say it's nothing new to me, but I ain't never did it on the collegiate level. So of course it's big, it's national, to be ranked in interceptions and turnovers and things like that.
Chris, how are you and Mike Montgomery alike? How are you different? And what makes you such a good combination?
That's good question. How we're alike, I mean, we of course both of us we want it. I mean, we some dogs on that field. You know, we very physical. The work ethic's there. I mean, we like to work. I feel like he got a little more experience than me. I say that because he gives me a lot of advice and a lot of things off the field to keep doing. Like yesterday, we put in some extra work, and he was just trying to help me with my footwork to keep staying consistent with my tackling and things like that. So, I mean, we're alike in the fact that, you know, we like to work. He's more of a quiet guy, you know what I mean? He don't talk like that, but like when he gotta say something, he gonna say something. Me, I'm gonna talk a lot, you know, I like to interact with everybody and stuff, so that's my guy though. I look up to him and I try to kind of mimic some of the stuff he do a lot because of what type of guy he is, for sure.
Week to week, do you think you've learned more this season than previously in your career? Just not even over the whole year, but just week to week preparation and watching film and correction.
Yeah, I have, and even that, you know, you can say I've learned a lot, but Coach Huff talked about adding more things to your schedule, and that's what I'm trying to do every week, so I won't stay complacent, I won't get stuck at the same spot. So yeah, of course I'm learning more ball and learning more things, but I'm also trying to add more things to my schedule, like extra things to do after practice, extra recovery, just adding more things to it so I can keep continuing to get better.
Another thing with you guys as well, if you look at the Sun Belt availability reports, every time you guys are playing a team, it's always like less than 5, it seems like, for this program. Injuries have been a thing maybe last year, years before. What's been different about this year's group, keeping you guys healthy, keeping you guys strong, you feel like, from your perspective?
I was just talking to my friend about this. Last year, you probably seen me in the training room probably like 3 times. I mean, I didn't really do extra recovery, and how we play the game, I mean, if you don't do extra recovery, you're not gonna get through the whole season. So last year, I didn't get through the whole season. That wasn't the main reason, but you know, this year, I feel like Coach Huff and the training staff, they overemphasize us being in the training room, getting extra recovery to stay on top of what we got to do, and they do a great job of just making sure we always feel comfortable and our body feels nice. They do a great job of that. So this year, I feel like that's been overemphasized, and that's why I feel like most of our guys are healthy. I mean, you're gonna get bruises and beat up a little bit, but we out there in that field every week, and that's the only thing that matters is how you win.
So it's fair to say that from a game last year and a game this year, you're feeling a lot better.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's we're going to week 9. Week 9, my body feels good. I mean, I just gotta continue to stay on top of my recovery and make sure my body feels great.
Week to week with you guys, what do you feel like the mindset is at? Stay level headed with what you guys can accomplish, you know, maturity wise too.
Yeah, you just try to block out all the noise, all the rap poison. You know, they're gonna be in your ear, try to make you feel good, feel like you know on top of the world. But at the end of the day, we got work to do. We got things to fix and clean up. I mean, it's no game you're gonna look at on film that USM just played all the way perfect. I mean, you're not gonna see it. So it's always something to clean up. And me personally, every time I watch film, I see something I can clean up. I mean, you're gonna hear people in your ear talking about, "Oh, Chris, you're doing good." In my eyes, I'm like, I got a lot of stuff to clean up and a lot of things to work on. So that's just something you just gotta block out. I try to block out all the noise. Every time I hear something good, I say thank you. But you know, you just gotta keep working on yourself and as a team.
Good linebackers always have great anticipation. Are you a guy that can anticipate pretty much what the other team's gonna do?
I've gotten better at that going in my second year. Last year it wasn't like that. This year it's like you can look at a formation you've seen on film and you can see what they're finna run. Like it can be zone cutoff, split zone. You can look at the formation and see what side the back on or what the online is doing. You can anticipate. I've gotten better in noticing like when the line pass blocking in, when they're pulling or when they're stepping down. Like those are just the little things you pick up as you just get older and grow in the game. And I feel like this year has gotten better. It's gonna continue to get better as I keep working on that.
Last year against Marshall, you had a good game. Now you're playing for the guy who coached that Marshall team. What do you remember about that game last year?
I remember losing. That's one. I remember losing, but I think I had a few tackles and a couple nice plays, but I mean we lost, so I don't really too much remember a lot. But I do remember when Coach Huff got here, he brought up the game, and some of the guys on the team were like, they remember me. It was like, oh, that's a young pup, 35, a young pup out there dogging y'all. So
Remember you in a good way?
yeah, in a good way. So yeah, I do remember that, but I don't too much remember anything that good from that game. Man, we got beat bad. We got beat pretty bad.
Anything else? Chris, thank you.